Hello, this is just a quick little PowerPoint on assessment, instruction, intervention before you go into your assignment on researching a reading program or reading strategy. I just have a few little things I want to walk through with you. First of all, assessment. And we know, and we've talked a lot about this, it is more than a number. We're using all this information we're gathering day to day and putting it together to help us understand how students learn and what they need next. Instruction and assessment are inseparable. We do the assessment so that we can be purposeful with our instruction and we can watch what readers are doing in order to make those responsive instructional moves for them. Assessment and instruction can meet the high standards that are still developmentally appropriate for our students. Assessment is a window into understanding how our readers approach text, approach how they read, and what they are struggling with. Formative assessments, as we know, are the observations on a daily basis that help us determine and adjust what we need to do next for our students so that they are continually to improve. Just to connect instruction with the RTI system, instruction at the Tier 1 level has to be solid. It has to be the strongest aspect that all students can access and are there for. The video on John Hattie talks a little bit about how important teachers are and how they have to know how much they impact, and you can take a look at that video if you would like. One of the best ways to help all students learn is to have that differentiated instruction or universal design for learning, where we are allowing students to be able to show what they know in multiple ways and in different ways with scaffolds and supports along the way. We know we have a guaranteed and viable curriculum so that whatever the third grade teacher is doing in one room, it's happening in the other third grade room as far as standards and proficiencies and learning targets, and that we do have common assessments where we can come together and talk about things. Do we have to teach the same way? Absolutely not. But we do need to be accountable to our standards and be able to have those conversations and learn from one another in a strong PLC. All students must have access to Tier 1 universal instruction. So our Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions are supports to our Tier 1 universal instruction. If our Universal 1 instruction is not good, we're probably overloaded our Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, and people feel this panic and being very stressed with that. And that's where Tier 1 is so important. The interventions in Tier 2 and 3 do need to complement and supplement the core instruction, but it shouldn't supplant that instruction, which basically means we should not be, if a student is struggling with reading, they should not miss universal reading instruction to have an intervention. They need that in addition to the intervention, in addition to their universal instruction. And that we are in those interventions working with students to help them and transfer those skills back to the universal instruction and the grade level standards that are being taught. Shouldn't be all in isolation with no context. Interventions align to student needs. So after we do that benchmark screening, we're probably going to need a diagnostic, maybe to dig deeper and drill into which reading components or are there multiple reading components that we need to look at. Once we have determined those things, we can kind of categorize in three basic areas of reading. We can talk about that beginning reading, that basic reading. Then we can look at that fluency aspect, and we can also look at comprehension aspect. And that is pretty much aligned to how we kind of look at the SLD law when we're looking at, is the student in need of a fluency intervention, or is it a basic reading and we need to work on some phonological awareness skills and strategies. This helps us kind of streamline where we're going to attack and help those students learn, and how do we do that with what's the best approach. Here's some examples, and you'll have time if you'd like to look into this, of just how we've kind of divided what goes with what to help us have a good understanding and what skills really relate to what component of reading. You can see we've broken it up into basic reading, fluency, and comprehension. This is kind of what we use a little bit as a guidance for teachers in our school district. Of course, there are a lot more, and you'll be able to dig more into those once you get into your assignment for the reading strategy or reading program. Also, we always want to make sure that, especially for that Tier 3, everything has to be research-based. And most things are research-based, but with Tier 2, you are more flexible with being able to do things a little bit differently than a Tier 3 going for an SLD referral, where you are pretty much lockstep into those interventions. But most important, and this is me being probably on my little bit of a soapbox here, but it's not about finding the right program, because we know there isn't just this one program that's going to fix everything in the student. It's really about diagnosing and intervening and instructing to what the student needs and what the challenges that student has, and how to make the decisions and the moves that will best help that student. And in most cases, it's not just one, it's multiple different approaches to help that student achieve and be successful.